games, Arts Missoula Bake Sale, and more. Enjoy a dance class from Garden City Salsa. There's also Turning the Wheel, hosting a family romp. There's poetry, jazz, drumming, even a relaxation room. Details about Missoula on Main at artsmissoula.org.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275ES Missoula. It's time for Montana's only daily sports talk show, Nuanez Now. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I like football!
Now here's your host, Nuanez.
I feel blessed and honored to receive. It's what we've been joking about all day because for very many teams and very many players, this is the time of year in college football where you're making moves. And that seems to be the way that everybody writes on social media these days when it comes to these football players, whether they're going to the transfer portal, declaring for the draft, declaring where they're transferring to, committing to a place. It's always first and foremost. And with that being said, and it's just funny, it's going down all over the place because we've had several of those sorts of announcements today, including Kale Ayat announcing that he is coming back at the University of Montana. His tweet was rather amusing just because, I don't have a dog in this fight. I obviously hope Ayat stays because he's a tremendous player at the University of Montana. And he is, in fact, staying. He announced that today. But his tweet was something else because he basically said, first, it was the cliche, this, that, and the other thing. I'm finding it right now on Twitter to read you. First and foremost, I want to thank the Montana coaching staff, my teammates, and fans. These last 3 years, I have created so many memories with so many special people. With that being said, at this point, every Grizz fan in the world is reading this on Twitter and Instagram and thinking, gosh dang it, Ayat's transferring. He's going somewhere. He said, with that being said, I've decided to not enter my name into the transfer portal. This is too fun. LOL. I'm back. Go Grizz. I thought it was a pretty funny tweet. It made the circles around the internet. Anyways, I've just been making fun of the way that all this stuff is just sort of boilerplated now in the modern day and age. But good news for the Grizz today. Kale Ayat's coming back. Hearing that Eli Gilman is probably leaning towards that exact same deal. And if those two guys come back, along with some of the other guys that were auxiliary players this last year for the Grizz, you have to think they'll be really good on offense and be a national championship contender one more time. So certainly a big domino to fall, and it's just crazy the way that the world works right now. Welcome in. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, back in Missoula. We talked a ton of Cats yesterday, so I lead with some Grizz. We're going to talk a bunch of national championship stuff, including about the Grizz, but also Illinois State and Montana State. Sam Herder is going to give us a look at Illinois State. It's our Inside the FCS. It usually leads the show on Wednesday, but we'll lead with it here today. We also are going to give you an update on all things basketball. So crazy how the football seasons that last into early January, they just overshadow the basketball so bad. And I'm certainly not ready to turn the page to basketball at all. I am actually in no mood to be in basketball season, but that's not because I don't like basketball. I love basketball, and I can't wait to cover college hoops this year. It's just that, like I always say, if I was the sports czar of America, I am making a rule. I'm making several rules, but one of the rules I'm making is that football ends right around New Year's, and maybe not the NFL, but college football ends around New Year's, and then basketball gets to start after that. Let's just have the NCAA tournament in April instead. I mean, why not? It would just be so much more fluid for the college sporting calendar. The kids would still be in school. I digress. We'll give you an update on what's going on with Montana State men's and women's basketball. They all open Big Sky Conference play on Thursday. That's New Year's Day. Certainly, Missoula, the Montana men looking to get over a tough non-conference, but they are at home on New Year's Day, so that's actually a pretty intriguing one to maybe go to. I know that University of Montana is trying to push tickets right now. I know it's hard with the holidays and yada, 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 but I even though the Grizz have had some hiccups and they lost to Montana Tech their last time out, I guess their second to last time out, they played at Louisville, number 11 Louisville, that is, on December 20th. That was completely overshadowed by the Super Bowl. Anyways, that's what's going down in Missoula. The Montana State men are at home on Thursday as well. We'll give you a breakdown of what's going on with all the hoops teams. Also, a cool commitment that we'll let you know about. The first of her kind. Carly Allen of Kalispell Glacier, she is going to be the first woman ever out of Montana to go play college flag football. So we'll tell you a little bit more about that here, and that's all just in hour number one. Hour number two, a little abbreviated but elongated and sort of not our typical form of an ESPN Roundtable. Usually we have a long-form interview this time. Usually the ESPN Roundtable is on Wednesday. Fitting it in today because we don't have shows tomorrow or the next day. So just sort of, making sure we're in the good with some of our best sponsors, including Stockman Bank, who brings us the ESPN Roundtable each week. And also just wanted to, get that out there. So part of the ESPN Roundtable is with Adam Jones, who's a Missoula Sentinel product and a captain for the Montana State Bobcats as they head to Nashville. Part of it, though, we're just going to go through what I think are the 10 biggest factors that have helped lead Montana State back to the national championship game. So a little bit of commentary from me, a little bit of insight from Adam Jones, and then we'll turn it back to the Grizz around 5:30, and we'll keep on talking about who's staying, who's going. We talked about Diesel Wilkinson yesterday. I also implied there was another guy that was in the portal, but I was going to let the announcement come out. Well, the announcement has come out. Caleb Otlewski into the portal. He announces it in a pretty unorthodox fashion, so we'll go through that a little bit later on as well. And then we'll also hear an excerpt from a conversation from earlier this week for Brooks Nuanez. We played part of Brooks and I's conversation about Montana State's rebuild from last year to this year. Brooks and I also talked about the Grizz and where they're at as a program, evaluating this season. How close are they, yet how far are they away? That's sort of the conundrum here. I mean, Montana had a great year, 13-2. Hard to deny it. Final four of the playoffs, but also you lose your rival twice in the span of a month, and that's salt in the wound. That hurts you, no question. But beyond the emotional pain, also just where are we at with the Grizz? I mean, they have these unbelievable offensive stars. They have some supreme talent defensively. But they have these missing pieces, and I think that they're becoming glaringly apparent. But I think that identifying them is one thing, but being able to remedy them, especially remedying them in quick, in efficient fashion, is challenging. So we'll go through some of that a little bit later on. It is Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app, coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal has roll-off boxes for your construction project. You need one? Call them. 24 hours, they'll get it to you. Call 406-541-7171. That's 541-7171. 24-hour turnaround times and a commitment to doing what they say they're going to do. Grizzly Disposal is locally owned, veteran-owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. Continuation of our road to Nashville right now. Well, it's now ESPN Radio doing a little double dip here with Sam Herder, Hero Sports. He joins us weekly here on the radio now, but sometimes we also do podcasts, and sometimes I go on his podcast. So we just got done recording on the Hero Sports side of things. We will have that available for you a little later on. We figured might as well just contain the time and do the radio hit on this side as well. So it is part of our road to Nashville here as we make our way to the FCS championship game in Nashville later on this week. Couldn't do it without all of our fine sponsors, including the Advocates. Advocates reminding you that winter's here, snow's on the road, so watch out for distracted drivers. If you're in an accident that wasn't your fault, you deserve an advocate. You can chat with an experienced, award-winning attorney at no cost to you. Call 406-644-4444 today or chat online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve an advocate. Sam, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Thanks for being here.
Yeah, doing good. Excited for the upcoming weekends, getting to Nashville. I've been to Frisco 12 of the 15 years, so looking forward to something a little bit different. I've driven through Nashville, but I haven't stopped there, so I don't even really consider that I've been to Nashville before. So, yeah, it should be a fun weekend and a good game.
Did you ever go to Chattanooga when the championship game was there? Or was that right before you just got into this?
Yeah, that was right before I got into it. So, I hadn't been to Chattanooga.
Been to Chattanooga a couple times. Love the people of Tennessee. Same deal. I went to Nashville for about 5 minutes. I think we were there for like 2 hours on the way through to Chattanooga. I guess it's actually past Chattanooga. So we went there and then came back. But I've always enjoyed the people in Tennessee. We'll see, though. The Chattanooga venue did not treat Big Sky Conference teams very well when they were the hosts there. Montana lost there a couple times. I guess 3 times all told. But we'll see now that it's back in Tennessee if a Montana school can get it done. Before we get to this national championship game, though, take us through the semifinal run for Illinois State. There's never been a team that's got on the road 4 weeks in a row and won in the FCS playoffs until now, until the Redbirds have done it. I think people sort of expected them to beat Southeastern Louisiana, but then the big upset that broke the bracket was when they won at North Dakota State. And then, of course, they've kept it going by winning at UC Davis and winning at Villanova. What's been the most impressive part about this run for Illinois State to you?
Yeah, I think it's just how every week you kind of expect them, or every week after the NDSU win, you kind of expected them to, okay, now they're going to lose, right? They shocked the world. They beat NDSU. The next week they go to UC Davis and you're going, okay, this is, 3 straight road games. There's also going to be the mental hangover of upsetting NDSU. Like, okay, their run's going to end here. Well, then they go to California and they get a win. And then the semifinals, there's a decent amount of people picking Illinois State to beat Villanova, but the other side of it was, well, now they're crisscrossing the country 4 straight weeks. Like they're eventually going to run out of juice. But every game you just didn't see that, where it didn't look like they were running on fumes. They were, out physicaling, all of their opponents, NDSU included. So just to be able to kind of ride this wave of momentum, I think has been very impressive for them.
The Redbirds have a couple interesting storylines about them. Number one being that Brock Spack has been there for so long. I think when he first took that job, he had been at Wyoming and Purdue with Joe Tiller, who coincidentally is a Montana State alum, so that's a fun little storyline. Joe Tiller was one of the great linemen in Montana State history back in the Jim Sweeney days in the early 1960s, and then Tiller, of course, went on to become the head coach of Purdue, where he was there for 12 years, and Spack was his defensive coordinator. But when Spack took that job back in 2009, I think a lot of people thought that he would be a coach on the rise, and then he got Illinois State to be very good in the mid-2010s. They went to the national championship game in 2014. They shared the Missouri Valley title in 2015. And now here he is. He's still there after 16 seasons. I have an interview with him tomorrow, so I'm going to ask him, too, sort of what's kept him there. But it's sort of a rare occasion when you have a guy that stays in a place for so long when they're winning. And he has done a lot of winning. He's won 123 games. So how much do you think just his presence has influenced the stability of Illinois State? And what do you just make of the fact that he's been there for so long?
Yeah, it's a huge factor for Illinois State, just having that stability at the top, and he's a heck of a football coach as well. A great defensive mind, and he knows how to build a program. And he's kind of had to do that multiple times at Illinois State of building things back up after things have dipped down a little bit. And they've had some really good teams, like you mentioned. Back in 2014, they made a run to the national championship. I mean, they were seconds away from beating North Dakota State. In 2019, they had a really good team as well. They made it to the quarterfinals, but then COVID hit, and that really hit that program really hard because it's a prideful program. And, there was teams playing a few games during the spring season and then opting out. And if I remember correctly, I think Illinois State was one of those teams that didn't finish the season. And I think that just overall kind of created some negative vibes, whether it be the alumni or the current players for Illinois State back during that spring season. And, they lost a lot of guys, and they kind of had to build things back up. And Coach Spack said, we're not going to, we lost a lot of transfers, but we're not going to replace them with transfers. We're going to replace them with high school recruits. And so it might be, a few years before we build this thing back up. And I think we're seeing that now with them with, 26 seniors, something like that. A lot of these guys could have left, but they stayed. And now they're at this moment. They're at this spot right now where I think everything has just come together for this team. And they've had, it is a Cinderella story, certainly. But when you go back to the preseason, I think they were preseason number 6. So they came in with pretty high expectations, but they were so up and down during the regular season. And then they get whooped up on by Southern Illinois in the regular season finale that no one was expecting Illinois State to make it past the second round because they're matched up with the NDSU. So I think a part of it is catching lightning in a bottle, but I also think it's just things really clicking for this team where they have the talent, they have the senior leadership where once it clicked, they just shot off to the moon.
Sam Herder, Hero Sports, joining us here on Nuanez Now. So Inside the FCS, probably presented by Paradise Falls of Missoula. If you need a place to watch college football during the height of bowl season, head on down to Paradise Falls, located at 3621 Brook Street. Watch college football in Paradise at Paradise Falls. I follow the FCS outside of the Big Sky Conference. Certainly, especially when it comes to the other power conferences and then Missouri Valley. And I've always, over the years, there's been a lot of crossover with Illinois State in the playoffs. So I've interviewed Brock Spack probably 10 times over my career, and I've always enjoyed him and liked catching up with him. But they did have headliners coming into the year. Like Tommy Rittenhouse was a name that people knew. He'd been a 3-year starter. Ty Camp, a guy that people knew about. Daniel Sopkowitz, a guy that people knew about. So they did sort of have headliners, but then they got off to this sort of inauspicious start. You lose at Oklahoma, okay, is what it is. Then you win 3 games in a row you're supposed to win. Then you go lose in Fargo. Actually, I think the game was in Normal this year. Yeah. But either way, you lose to North Dakota State. Still, you're kind of exactly where people thought you're going to be through 5 games, but then it kind of just, you're sitting there at 4-3 and everybody's wondering what the heck's going on. But then they were able to surge, but then they fell flat in the regular season finale. So, what do you make of just sort of the unevenness of their season? They kind of did exactly what people expected the first 5 games. Then they got hot and won 4 games in a row to kind of get themselves in a good position. And then they lost to a team that didn't even make the playoffs, and they got whooped on their home field on Senior Day and lost 37-7 to Southern Illinois. So what do you just make of the unevenness of their season throughout this year?
Yeah, it's been a bit weird. And I remember, just talking about Illinois State throughout this season and always kind of saying, there's just something off, about this team. The talent is there. We've seen them go to the playoffs last year, and a lot of these guys are back, but there's just something missing. I think things started to click when they got a big road win at South Dakota. But then a short while later, their game at South Dakota State was kind of a microcosm of their season where they jumped up. I think it was literally 28-0 or 31-0 early in the second quarter at South Dakota State. And people are like, what is going on? I don't know if we're more impressed with Illinois State in this or disappointed in what South Dakota State is doing. But then in the second half, South Dakota State comes back and almost makes it a 1-score game before losing by 2 or 3 scores. And that game in itself kind of showed Illinois State can be really, really good when things are going their way. And there are other times when they just really struggle. And the Southern Illinois game was just weird. And I don't know if Illinois State was in no matter what happened, in that game. And I think maybe that was the players' mindset of we're in the playoffs already. This game is important, but whatever, we're in regardless. Maybe not thinking that had they won that game, they maybe would have gotten a first round bye and, things could be a lot different for them. Who knows? But I remember it was almost like the week after when the playoffs started, it was almost like Coach Spack didn't even want to talk about the Southern Illinois game. Cause I think he was also confused of what the heck just happened to us here? Whatever. We're in the playoffs. Let's move on. Let's put it behind us. And like we've talked about, they've kind of been on a heater ever since getting into the bracket.
It's funny because this is the way the FCS used to be, where it's how you respond to your worst loss. The notion of undefeated national champions was sort of an outlier. They didn't happen that often until North Dakota State made it more commonplace, and then South Dakota State did it a couple times too. But usually it was every team would have a loss or two, and a lot of times they were weird losses or embarrassing losses, and then it was all about how you bounced back from it. And it seems like that's the case. It seems like Illinois State sort of knew their potential in the middle of the year, but then I think that the fact they got another chance after the embarrassing loss, they said kind of internally, Tommy Rittenhouse said this yesterday on the Zoom that you and I were both on too. They decided, hey, let's figure this out. Let's turn the corner. Let's not sit here and mope. Let's just embrace the team that we have, and let's go on a run. And here they have. They've got on the run. The fact that they've been all over the place though, to Hammond, Louisiana, and Fargo, North Dakota, and UC Davis, and Philadelphia, and now Nashville. How much do you think that'll impact just their endurance and their fresh legs or lack thereof on Monday in the national championship game?
Yeah, you almost wonder if they would have preferred to just play, the next week just to kind of bottle all this momentum instead of, everyone going their separate ways for Christmas break and then coming back and trying to channel that momentum again. But I think just being battle tested, not only throughout the playoffs, but, playing a Missouri Valley Football Conference slate is going to, is going to be really beneficial for them. And, in a way, they're kind of playing with house money because it's already been a historical season for Illinois State. I mean, They're the first team that has won 4 road games in the playoffs. If they lose to Montana State, it'll be very, very disappointing. But overall, the season is going to be looked at as a huge success. And if they if they beat Montana State, then they're viewed as like the most, improbable, incredible run in the FCS playoffs history. And they're just like so much about their side of the bracket. And the FCS playoffs overall, kind of like you mentioned, it used to be this way where there was a bit more parity. And then for about 10 or so years, it wasn't this way. But so Illinois State in this year's playoffs has bucked so many of the trends and like the narratives, whether it's like road teams never win. Well, this year in the playoffs, a lot of road teams won in the playoffs, or there's no parity. Well, we saw parity right away with Illinois State knocking off NDSU, who was the odds-on favorite. And even like the conversation after NDSU and South Dakota State lost in the playoffs in the second round, the conversation was kind of like, this is good for the FCS because there's more parity, but when you don't have some of these brand names, like how is that going to impact the TV viewership? Well, TV viewership actually went up. The quarterfinals saw their highest average viewership since 2011, I believe. And then the semifinals saw their highest average viewership since 2009. Pretty much, shot up by Montana State, which got 2.8 million viewers, which is the highest viewed playoff game ever on record. And when you factor in they were going up against the NFL and the CFP, like that's an incredible number for Montana State. So, so much of what has happened in the playoffs this year, like just goes against a lot of the narratives and a lot of the trends that we've seen in past brackets.
Sam Herder, Hero Sports, joining us here on Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, Inside the FCS, probably presented by Paradise Falls of Missoula. Illinois State has also just been in this interesting position in the Missouri Valley where they have been good and solid for most years. I mean, they've had winning records and they've had these high water marks where they're in the playoffs and even making playoff runs, but they've never had Dakota in their name. So they just haven't gotten as much of the attention. They're in a state that has pro sports and FBS football and all that sort of stuff. So how would you just describe where they fit into the mix of the Missouri Valley Football Conference? Like, how do they stack up just in terms of resources and all that sort of stuff compared to North Dakota State, South Dakota State, South Dakota, North Dakota?
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of what it needs, of what they need to compete at a high level in the FCS. I think they're still, behind a bit from the Dakotas. I mean, 3 of the 4 Dakota schools, everyone except for South Dakota, have indoor, facilities that are very nice. Illinois State does have a bubble. So that's very important for them as they prep. But you look at some of their other facilities and they're really nice. I mean, their football stadium is really, really nice. If you just look at pictures of it, you go, it kind of looks like a Mac stadium. Like it looks like a lower level, quote unquote, lower level FBS, G5 type of stadium. And so, and they can recruit really well in that area. I don't know as much about like the educational side of it, but I know like a lot of colleges in Illinois are kind of struggling, financially, just from the educational side of things. But I think Illinois State has a pretty decent budget. I think it's right around $30 million, which is close to like what NDSU has. And it's not necessarily a rabid football fan base, but they do have a strong following. And just last week they got a $2.5 million gift from an anonymous former quarterback for Illinois State, and that money is going toward recruiting and retention. And so like that gift alone is, pretty much revenue sharing and NIL right there for Illinois State. And so they are doing more things in this new age of college athletics to be a good football program, because as you and I have often said, being good now in the FCS looks a lot different than in 2005. Like you need to revenue share and you need to have, a full-time strength and conditioning coordinator who only focuses on football and not football and softball or football and baseball. Like one guy who just focus on football, and nutrition and, equipment and paying your coaches high salaries so they stick around. All of that is what you need to do to compete at a high level in the FCS. And I think Illinois State is starting to do that, where 2001 or 2021, 2022, like they didn't really like the transfer portal a whole lot. They weren't going to, do a whole lot of NIL. I think they're starting to shift that mindset a little bit more.
When it comes to this personnel, where can Illinois State find advantages against Montana State on Monday?
Yeah, I think their defensive line is really, really good for Illinois State. Stefan and, Jake Anderson is really good, and they have good size. They're good physicality. I think we saw what they did, all throughout the playoffs, where, they out-physicaled their opponent. And, their Illinois State's defensive line just completely overwhelmed NDSU's offensive line. And that's something we haven't seen for, 15 plus years. And that was probably the game of their lives right there. But if they can replicate that level of play that has that ability to throw Montana State off of its game a little bit. And we saw Yale do that, where they were able to go toe for toe, physically with Montana State. And now the Cats are better built to, hey, if you take away the run, we can spread you out, with the pass. And so Montana State is capable now where if the run game isn't getting going, they have other ways to attack a defense. But I think if Illinois State's defensive line can play at a high level, that can throw State off of its game a little bit. And then offensively, really curious to see this young but confident Montana State secondary, how they match up against Daniel Sopkowitz. Like, I'm guessing these guys are just salivating at the thought of, like, this is probably the best receiver they're going to see all season outside of Oregon, of course. But I mean, Sopkowitz is a dude, 6'3", runs great routes. He'll catch contested passes. Like, he is a legit, like, maybe one of the best FCS wide receivers. So to see how Montana State matches up against him is going to be fascinating.
It's funny because the number one question I always think when I see guys like Sopkowitz, I watch them on film and then I look at their stats and I read their resumes, is how the heck did Illinois State keep him? How the heck did Illinois State keep this guy? I mean, he's got like 260 catches. He's got 40 touchdowns. I know a lot of that. I mean, he's got 18 touchdowns this year, so he certainly padded his stats, but he was a 1,000-yard receiver back-to-back years before, this year even rolled around. So do you have any insight on how they were able to keep this guy?
Yeah, I know after the semifinal game, Coach Spack had a quote that said, it's really unbelievable that, Daniel came back to Illinois State because he showed me what he was being offered, and it was a staggering amount of money being offered from the Power Four to transfer and, and get a bag. And, he is, I believe Sopkowitz is from Illinois, and so there might be, family ties there and, playing close to home. I also think a lot of these guys are, there still are guys going into the portal irresponsibly, I would say, but I think a lot of these guys have now seen enough of the numbers that show, yeah, you can make a lot more money, but the percentage of guys that play less snaps or they go from being all conference to, not really doing a whole lot. And Illinois State last year, they had a number 2 receiver who put up just as good a stats as Sopkowitz, and he transferred to the FBS level, and he's barely played this year. So I think a lot of the guys in the FCS and even the G5 are kind of weighing, like, would I rather make a good amount of money now, or would I rather just dominate, where I'm at right now? And now if it's $1 million, like, okay, like you go sit the bench for $1 million. But a lot of these guys, like, is $60,000 enough to go from being an All-American to catching 20 passes in a season? For a lot of these guys 3 years ago, they'd be $60,000. Yeah, I'm going. Now it's like, I'm going to look back on that 5 years from now and be like, why did I do that? I didn't get anywhere from doing that. So I think scouts, yes, they want to see you play at the highest level, but at the same time, NFL scouts want to see you just put as much reps as possible on film, and we'll be able to tell how good of a player you are no matter what competition you're playing. So I just think the mindset has changed a little bit as far as guys deciding if moving up is good for them or not.
Sam Herder here on Sports Center, us here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television and the ESPN MT app. It's interesting because I was thinking about this earlier today. Riley Wilson was an all-Big Sky player at Montana for a couple years, and he transferred to Arizona. And I'm not sure how much money he got NIL, but I guarantee it wasn't 6 figures. It was probably in the 5 figures range. And I think he had like 22 tackles and 2.5 sacks for Arizona. So he played a little bit, but like, you'd probably rather be a guy that has 10-plus sacks on a Montana team that goes to the semis that wins 13 games than, like $25,000 at Arizona to be a, reserve rotational player. So while we're on that subject, we'll get back to this national championship game because I do have 2 more questions for you on it. But what do you make of just Montana and where they sit? Because certainly a team that was much better this year than they were a year ago. They have 13-win seasons 2 of the last 3 years for the Grizz, but also just sort of this glaring reality is that you now have lost twice in a month to your rival, and that also happened to be your 8th loss in the last 10 matchups against Montana State. Now here the Cats are going the Natty for the 3rd time in 5 years, and Montana's only been the Natty 1 time in the last 16 years, even if it was 2 years ago. So what do you just make of the Grizz, the position they are in as a program right now?
Yeah, it's almost twofold. Like, you can look at it 2 different ways as far as, like, they were undefeated for most of, this season until the regular season finale, and they reached the semifinals 2 years ago. They reached the national championship game. And so overall as a program, you feel like they're sitting in a really good spot. But, this program has national championship aspirations, obviously. And, you almost wonder if, like, this year, potentially 2-3 years from now, Montana can look back at this year as like maybe like a launching point to a certain extent, because if they look at themselves in the mirror, they can say, okay, we're really good, but we're not elite. What do we need to do to be elite? Whether that's changing, recruiting strategy, whether it be, developmental stuff, whether it be, wholesale schematical changes. I don't know if that's necessary or not. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but just changing some small things here or there, I think could be a launching point for Montana, because they're close, but at the same time, they're not close, if that makes sense. And they have everything they need to be a national power. And are they a national power? Like it depends what your definition of a national power is. I mean, they've made multiple quarterfinal appearances over the last, since 2019, but they're not at that top tier just yet. So it'll be interesting to see, defensively, what they do, some holes to fill, but, offensively, Ayat announced he was coming back. Hopefully Brooks Davis comes back. Eli Gilman at this point, like he stayed this long, maybe he just rides it out and becomes an all-time Grizz. That'd be awesome to see. But skill position wise, you feel good about Montana. It's just, the offensive line and defensive line, like what do you do? Do you go after portal guys? But if you're an FCS program and you get an offensive line transfer, he might not be very good, because the FBS, like they covet offensive linemen. And so if you get a guy from the portal, how well is that going to, how is that going to turn out? Or do you go to the high school rank where you try to develop these guys, but that's a longer process. I mean, there's a lot of guys from NDSU and South Dakota State who are in the NFL from the offensive line. They didn't play until they were a junior. I mean, that's 4 years of development. So it kind of seems like Montana's kind of been stuck in this, not rut, but this cycle of they lose a big class and they bring in transfers, but a lot of the transfers they bring in are seniors. And then you couple that with guys who are already on the roster who are seniors, and then they lose those guys. And do they have guys below them waiting in the wings to take over? Maybe not. So then they have to get more transfers. And I know that's not how Montana wants to build itself, through the transfer portal, but it seems like they've kind of found themselves in that cycle of going to the portal year after year, maybe more than they initially would want to.
Say Murder Hero Sports here on Nuanez Now. All right, so I asked you all about Illinois State. For Montana State, what do you think are the advantages you need to lead into Monday night against the Redbirds?
Yeah, I think, to me, it seems like Montana State has, the speed advantage, and you don't, I guess, really think of Montana State as a team that's fast, but just because like they usually like to bludgeon you with the run and be physical on the defensive line and all of that. But I do think the Cats have the advantage on the edge, whether it's Jones or Taco on the outside. But I really like the overall defensive speed of Montana State. Just watching them live. I was down on the field for the Montana semifinal game for a little bit before going up to the semifinal, and just the ranginess of some of the linebackers that Montana State has, whether it's Cole Taylor or Neil Daly, like 6'3" linebackers that are long, rangy, can run sideline to sideline. It seems in past years they've had more of the 6 foot, 220-pound linebackers that play really well in the box, but maybe they're not great sideline to sideline. So I just think the overall defensive speed for Montana State, they have an advantage there as well. And Illinois State, they're not a super explosive offense. They kind of just grind you down, take what you'll give them through the passing game, grind you down defensively, or grind down the defense as well through the rushing attack. But I think the speed advantage is tilting toward Montana State in this one.
Hey, last thing for you. You have a fun story that you do year in and year out that I always love, where you basically just get a paragraph from a whole bunch of coaches from around the FCS. They just anonymously give you their take on the FCS playoffs and the championship game. What was the most maybe surprising take from that, or was there anything that surprised you just from the responses you got? For me, I thought it was surprising how many of the coaches thought Illinois State had a fighting chance to win. I'm not anointing the Bobcats, but there was a fair amount of people that responded and said, hey, Redbirds are hot. I think the Redbirds are going to stay hot. What for you was the most surprising part?
Yeah, I think I don't know if there was any really responses that were like super surprising. I believe a couple of coaches, talked about how they really liked, Lamson. One of the coaches, I believe, called Adam Jones the best running back, in the FCS. So I'm scrolling through it. I think it's somewhere in there that they said Adam Jones was the best running back in the FCS, which, I thought was interesting, because I think he's among the best running backs in the FCS. And he might be the best running back in the FCS, but like I've yet to see anyone in the media like say Adam Jones is the best running back in the FCS. Like usually it's like Gilman, or it was Charles Pierre Jr. or some of the guys from Southern Utah. So I thought that was interesting.
I mean, even this kid from Illinois State has been a revelation. The second half of the year. I mean, Vic Dawson's been great. He's rushed for like 1,000 yards since November 1st.
Yeah. So most of the coaches picked Montana State to win. I think it was like 13 picked Montana State, 3 picked Illinois State, but a lot of the picks toward Montana State was mostly about like it just seems like this is Montana State's year. Kind of going toward the storyline of like maybe not even X's and O's, but like it just seems like everything is building toward a Montana State national championship this year. That seemed like the biggest takeaway from these coaches. And these coaches are spread out. Like there's some are assistant coaches, some of them are head coaches, some of them are from the CAA, SoCon, Southland, UAC, Big Sky, Missouri Valley. So it's a pretty good mix of coaches. And some of them say like I didn't really watch either of them because they're from the Southland and they don't have any crossover film on these guys. But whatever responses were given my way, I ran with, and I didn't edit them. So some of them were like, man, these coaches cannot spell at all, or they cannot put together a sentence at all. Good thing they're in football coaching wise. But yeah, it's always entertaining to put this together.
Say, Bruder, Hero Sports here on Nuanez Now. Thanks for doing it, buddy. We'll see you in Nashville.
Yeah, sounds good. See you there.
Inside the FCS, probably presented by Paradise Falls of Missoula. Watch college football in Paradise at Paradise Falls. As Montana State Bobcats take Montana pride on the road to the national championship, Blackfoot Communications proud to support the businesses that keep Montana moving with managed services, high-speed internet, and business voice solutions. Blackfoot delivers the reliability and local support that Montana businesses depend on game day and every day. Learn more at www.blackfoot.com. Blackfoot Communications, powering Bobcats and Grizzlies, powering Montana businesses. Appreciate Blackfoot for their support of our road to Nashville. Take a break, come back, talk some hoops. What's up with the Cats and the Grizz as they get set to open Big Sky Conference play? The men are in Montana, the women are on the road. We'll give you the breakdown on the other side. Don't change that down. Keep it right here. 102.9 ESPN Radio. You know all that gunk that gets stuck on the bottom of your car? It's nice that the city of Missoula de-ices the roads for us, but that stuff can really hurt your paint job and erode the undercarriage of your rig. That's why it's important to keep your car clean all winter long at Dazzler's Car Wash. Get yourself an unlimited membership at Dazzler's Car Wash. For just $37 a month, you can get your car washed every single day. Treat your car like it deserves to be treated at Dazzler's Car Wash of Missoula, located at 2610 Radio Way in the Garden City. Why do you go to the big box stores for your pharmaceutical needs? It doesn't really make any sense. Employees are walking out all over the country because safety is disregarded and they treat their customers like numbers in a database. Why do you go there? Let the local pharmacists at Palmer's Drug and Lolo Drug help make you feel like more than a number. Not only are the prices competitive as any big chain pharmacies, but their service will blow you away. When you're choosing pharmacy, choose local pharmacy with Palmer's Drug of Missoula and Lolo Drug, your local pharmacy experts.
Montana weather, am I right? While we can't control the weather, there is one thing we can control, your comfort. Liberty Electric, your partner in ensuring your comfort lasts until spring arrives. Let us help you stay cozy and worry-free through the chilly months, especially mornings. Remember, a heated garage means a warm car and a happier you. Let Liberty Electric show you how affordable a warm garage can be. Dial 541-WIRE. That's 541-9473.
Ring in the new year at Missoula on Main. Arts Missoula's New Year's Eve Arts and Culture Festival is now 2 full days, December 30th and 31st. At venues downtown to the west side and beyond, enjoy free and ticketed family-friendly events like dance showcases, music performances, and a town favorite, New Year's Bingo. Grab your all-access pass for free entry into every event, or buy individual tickets at artsmissoula.org. Sign up to volunteer and get a free all-access pass. Welcome 2026 and celebrate the arts at Missoula on Main.
Angie Miller of Ryan Miller and Coburn has a background in biology, so she is an ace when it comes to medical malpractice.
Getting to know our clients. It isn't just, in and out the door, sign clients. It's really getting to know who they are, what they do in life, about their families. We still have clients to this day that we've represented, and they still reach out to us, every once in a while to let us know how they're doing, or we reach out to them.
You can call Ryan Miller and Coburn Law anytime at 406-542-2233. You can also visit online at rmcattorneys.com. Ryan Miller and Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
You might be thinking, what's the big deal about a kids menu? Well, once you have kids, you know. It seems like it's getting harder and harder to find kid-friendly meals at affordable prices. At Paradise Falls, the kids menu is not only diverse, it's a total steal. For some of the cheapest prices in town, you can get hamburgers, mac and cheese, and other kid favorites for super low prices. Paradise Falls is a family-friendly restaurant open 7 days a week. Come enjoy a meal with your kiddos in Paradise at Paradise Falls, 3621 Brook Street, Missoula's coolest hotspot.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
If I come out like a dream, will you let me show you what I mean?
I hustled to get this cool archived Missoulian framed deal up for those watching on TV and the ESPN MT app, and then I, did like I always do, did 40 minutes on football and totally forgot to tell you what's up here. So if you're watching on TV or on the ESPN MT app or on YouTube or on Facebook, this right here, it's from Reds Bar. So shouts to our friends at Reds. They're awesome to support us, and they have so much cool sports memorabilia. So they let me borrow stuff, and I show it off on the show. A lot of the stuff you see on camera is from Reds. This is a framed sports section from the Missoulian from March of 1993. This is when the Hellgate Knights went undefeated, and they beat Billings West in an instant classic state championship basketball game, which is why they considered one of the most memorable basketball games ever in the state of Montana. That Hellgate team had a bunch of great players on it, namely J.R. Campbell, who's one of the great Native American basketball players ever from the state of Montana. Several of those guys from Hellgate went on to play for the Grizz and had great basketball careers. So it's just a cool deal. I'm working on a project that sort of loosely touches on that team, and that's about as much as I can let you know. I don't have a lot of extra time to work on the project at this exact moment in my life, but we have been chipping away at it, so that's TBD. Welcome back to Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Speaking of hoops, let's do a little Treasure State Stars College Basketball Edition. Treasure State Stars usually highlights some of the best individual performances from around the state of Montana. The high priority on high schools, but there hasn't been any high school sports for the last 2 weeks. So we got nothing to highlight. So the Big Sky Conference basketball season opens up tomorrow. Thursday. Tomorrow's New Year's Eve. It opens up on New Year's Day, and the Montana schools, the men's teams are at home. The Grizz host Northern Arizona at 4 p.m. on Thursday, and the Bobcats, they host Northern Colorado. Northern Colorado coming off of a win at Colorado just a couple days ago. And both I said Grizz games tips at 4 p.m. The Cat game is a night game. So, I mean, in the evening, 7 p.m. That's not that uncommon. But, I mean, I like the 4 p.m. tips on days that are weekends and or like holidays. So I think that's going to cater to having better attendance. Most of the Montana home games, besides the rivalry game against Montana State, men's basketball I'm talking, they tip at 4 p.m. I think that's going to be good. The ladies have had good success with tipping at 2 p.m. on Saturdays. So I think that, I think it attracts multiple crowds, right? Like for a lot of people that have young kids, it's hard to go to a basketball game at 7 o'clock at night. So earlier, you're going to draw more of the families. Also, hoops gets done in 2 hours. So you go to a 4 o'clock game, you can still go out to dinner. You can still go out and get some beers, whatever you want to do that Saturday night. So it's not as much of a commitment as like that is your activity on Saturday night. It can just be your precursor to your activity on Saturday night. So I think that hits a ton of demos. And then I think for the older demographic, I think they also prefer it to be a little bit earlier as well, especially during the winter in Montana. So I like the fact that they changed that tip time, certainly. When it comes to what the Grizz might encounter in Northern Arizona, I can't proclaim to know hardly anything about the league. I know Northern Colorado is good on the men's side. I think Montana has really struggled here during the non-conference. They're 6-7, just 4-4 at home. They take a long home losing streak into. I guess they beat Salish Kootenai College. That's their only home win out of their last 5 home games. So in terms of, I would say D1 opponents that are 0-4, but it's D1 opponents that are 0-3 and one NAIA opponent that are 0-1 because they lost to Montana Tech in their last home game, and they turned around and got beat by 40 by Louisville. So the Grizz men's basketball team certainly swimming, but I do expect them to still be pretty good. I think Montana State's pretty dang good too. The Cats are like the Grizz, 6 and 7 coming into conference play, but a much tougher schedule. Montana State played down to the wire before losing by 6 at Colorado. They lost by 9 at Stanford. Stanford's a team that's receiving votes currently in the top 25 poll. Cats lost by 4 to Boise State. They beat Long Beach State. They lost in overtime to Utah State. They beat St. Thomas. They lost to Oral Roberts by 4. They lost to Oregon State by 10. And then they beat Cal Poly in their last Division I outing on December 16th before playing Northwest on Monday, before then last Monday, that is, before taking Christmas break. But that's probably the marquee game in the league on Thursday, is that Northern Colorado at Montana State game. But I can't proclaim to know a ton about the league. I think that Northern Colorado, Montana State will be good. That's sort of been how it's been. Can Eastern Washington or Weber State get back into the ranks of the upper echelon in the Big Sky Conference? Both those teams that were really, really good most years over the last 20, and the last couple they haven't been. Part of that's coaching transition. Ashante Leggins leaves Eastern for Portland. David Riley takes over, then he leaves Eastern for Washington State. And now they went outside the tree for the first time. They hired Dan Monson, former Gonzaga head coach. But they had a Jim Hayford coaching tree for quite some time there at Eastern. So do they find their footing? I'm not sure. At Weber State, Randy Ray was there for 16 years. And then when he stepped away, passed it off to Eric Dufton. And that combined with the loss of Dylan Jones to the NBA, and Weber has been in a rebuild too here. And that's just sort of uncustomary for those two programs. So can they be? I mean, since I've been covering the Big Sky, almost always Montana's in the mix. Almost always Northern Colorado's in the mix. It used to also be then Weber and Eastern were the other two, and Idaho for times as well. The Vandals, the other one. Can they be a team that's in the upper echelon? And maybe even Idaho State. They've been sort of mid the last couple of years as well. I don't know if I have high expectations or any expectations for schools like Sac State or Northern Arizona. Portland State's very good. I do like Jace Henderson. I think that's actually established. I think that Portland State's one of those sort of almost certain upper echelon teams in Big Sky men's basketball this year. But we'll dive into these conference narratives a little bit more now that basketball season is sort of upon us. On the women's side, the Montana State women have sort of been up and down, even though they've had some really bright spots. They're 7-4, which is good. But I think they had some what ifs as well. I mean, they won at UNLV. That was a big win. They lost at Troy. That was sort of a tough loss. Then they won at Colorado. That's probably the high water mark of their non-conference. But the Montana State's women turned around and got smacked against North Dakota State in Fargo. They lost 90-65. But then they turned around and won 99-57 against North Dakota in Bozeman. Bobcat women laid an egg against Oregon. They lost 69-44. They took Oregon State down to the wire at the Maui Classic before losing by 2, but then they beat up on host Hawaii. And that's how they entered this conference season. So they're in Greeley, 6 p.m. on Thursday. And then they play at Northern Arizona in Flagstaff on Saturday. Lady Grizz have had the toughest schedule of any of the teams in Montana, and their record reflects that. They're 3-8 coming into conference play. They did win their last time out, though. They won on December 20th against Tarleton State in overtime, 90-85. That is the second Division I win so far of the season and of the Nate Harris era. The other one came against North Dakota. Lady Grizz won 86-56, so smacked them down. But you look at this gauntlet that the Lady Grizz navigated. They won their opener against Division II Seattle Pacific, and then they lost at Oregon 90-47. They lost at Washington 87-56. They lost at South Dakota State 95-71. They took BYU all the way down the wire, had a shot at the buzzer that would have won the game in Missoula, but then they lose 70-69. That was a heartbreaker for Lady Grizz. Then they had Utah in town on November 29th, and they got run through 78-38. Utah was, I think, an 8 seed in the NCAA tournament a year ago, so they're a bona fide sort of top 25, top 30 type of team. Cool to get them in Missoula. You probably want to perform a little better than that, though, if you're the Lady Grizz. Mentioned the North Dakota win, then the Lady Grizz lost in Missoula to St. Thomas, 81-65. Then they took Houston down to the wire and lost 60-54. Lost Abilene Christian 60-48, but then turned around and beat Tarleton State. So a little bit of momentum. Honestly, you can say what's up with the Lady Grizz because the record isn't good, but I think Lady Grizz are fine. I mean, you probably want to perform better and especially shoot the ball better against Oregon and Washington. You want to get that one against BYU. You got to score more than 38 points against Utah. But you weren't, I mean, not to just demean it or anything, but you weren't going to win those games anyways. I mean, you lose by Oregon, you lose to Oregon, by, let's say, 23 instead of 43. Okay, maybe you feel a little better about it, but it's still a loss, and it's still a lopsided loss. The good news for the Lady Grizz is they're probably not going to play anywhere that's as raucous or as challenging as Eugene or Seattle or Houston. And, I mean, Oregon, Washington, South Dakota State, BYU, Utah, and Houston would all be among the best teams in the Big Sky Conference. Oregon, Washington, South Dakota State, BYU, and Utah, all five. And the Lady Grizz play those 5 teams in consecutive order. All 5 of those teams are the favorites to win the Big Sky Conference if they're in the league. Houston, I think, is maybe probably a more of a mid-Power 4 type of team, but still it's a Power 4 type of team. So the point is that Lady Grizz are going to be, I think, battle-tested coming into conference play. And I think it'll probably feel a lot, easy is probably not the right word, but a lot less overwhelming once they get into conference play. They play Northern Arizona, by the way. That'll be interesting because NAU, a new era there at NAU. Lori Payne, a Havre, Montana native, she did an excellent job guiding NAU's women's basketball program. I think you could say she's the greatest coach of the 21st century there at NAU for sure. And I think she's probably arguably the best coach NAU's ever had. The one thing that eluded Lori Payne was getting NAU to the NCAA tournament. They played in the championship game of the Big Sky tournament multiple times, and they played in national tournaments multiple times. But then Lori Payne went to Santa Clara in the offseason. She took Sophie Glancy, who was probably the best, one of at least the best returning players in the Big Sky. She took her with her. Several of the other best Northern Arizona players either graduated or transferred as well. So NAU is going to have a totally new look. So I don't know what the matchup is like for the Lady Grizz or the Montana State women when they play NAU. When each of them play in flag this upcoming weekend. Northern Colorado, they haven't been able to find the form that they had. They were really good under Jamie White when they had great players like DeShera Strange and Stephanie Lee. And then they were excellent under Cammie Etheridge, and they went to the NCAA tournament. But Etheridge then, this is the story. It's the same story over and over again, right? Great coach, mid-major program, gets them to the NCAA tournament, boom, bigger job. It's what David Riley happened. What happened to David Riley at Eastern Washington. It's what happened to Danny Sprinkle at Montana State. It's what happened to Cammie Etheridge, too, at Northern Colorado women's basketball. They went to the big dance, then she went to Wazoo. Washington State's been great since Cammie Etheridge has been there. That's not a surprise. Etheridge is one of the most high-level coaches I've ever covered in the Big Sky Conference. She was the point guard of the United States Olympic team back in the 1980s. So you know her prestige as a player. And then she was a top assistant at TCU for years and years and years. And, she played at the University of Texas. She was an All-American. So she's an accomplished player herself that then has become a great head coach. And, Wazoo was a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament a couple of years back. So she's got them humming right along at a nationally elite level. That's all to say Northern Colorado has had a hard time moving on from that. They've had a hard time finding their footing. Jenny Huth had some good talent, but then when she sort of abruptly left, and nobody really knew the backstory as to why, Northern Colorado women have just had a hard time sort of getting it back on track. So a little bit of a mysterious for both. Krista Matteo at Northern Colorado has been there a little bit longer. They've sort of just been stuck in like that 6th to 8th place for the last couple of years. So are they better than that? I'm not sure. I do think both the Montana women's basketball teams, though, are right where they're probably voted in the preseason. I think they're, Montana State was picked to win it. I think they're the favorites. I think the Lady Grizz were picked 2nd or 3rd. I think they're certainly among the favorites for the conference title as well. So, the opponents this weekend are mysterious, is what I'd say for on the women's side for both Montana and Montana State. So Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Our road to Nashville continues. We'll have an ESPN Roundtable featuring plenty of Bobcat commentary coming up at the top of the hour. But first, we got to tell you about one of the firsts ever from the state of Montana. Talk some prep girls flag football and also give you some free Tagliari Deli. That's all next. JJ Dow, keep it right here. It's 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Attention Grizz Hockey fans, single game tickets are now on sale at grizzhockey.com. Don't miss your chance to secure the best seats for every exciting home game. This year, we're taking the fan experience to the next level. From music and a live pregame show in the parking lot to a professional DJ and MC energizing the crowd inside the arena. Enjoy new intermission games in the best bar in Missoula, all while cheering on the most talented Grizz Hockey team yet. Tickets are waiting. Head to grizzhockey.com today. Grizz Hockey, where the action begins.
If your college kid has wisdom teeth pain, let Big Sky Smiles and Sedation take care of it over their holiday break with gentle, effective sedation dentistry. Big Sky Smiles and Sedation won't overcharge, but they will remove those wisdom teeth for under $3,000, including sedation. No hidden fees, no stress, just experienced care at a great price. Call Big Sky Smiles and Sedation today at 406-549-6222 or visit BigSkySmilesandSedation.com.
Billy Fisher here, owner of Grizzly Disposal, thanking you, Missoula. 2025 was a great year for Grizzly Disposal, and we couldn't have done it without this community. Grizzly Disposal's partnerships have raised thousands of dollars for Chicks and Chaps, Grizzly Scholarship Association, Frenchtown Schools, and Missoula Catholic Schools. We've also saved you hundreds of dollars per year in your trash removal service, while you've supported a locally owned, locally staffed business. We look forward to continuing to provide Missoula and the surrounding areas with the best service, no surprises on your bills, and no hidden fees. Visit grizzlydisposal.com to learn more about us.
Choosing where to bank is a no-brainer. Choose Farmer State Bank, a community bank that's helped Western Montana grow since 1907. Our focus has always been local. Things like an annual $10,000 scholarship in each and every community we're located in, or donations to the local causes and organizations you care about. For a bank that supports you and the community you live in, choose Farmer State Bank. 10 brick-and-mortar locations and online at farmersebank.com. An equal housing lender and member FDIC.
All Nations Health Center is proud to share that they have officially purchased the Women's Club in Missoula. This marks a significant moment in All Nations' story and history, giving the organization a permanent home and a place where they can continue to grow, care for their relatives, and deepen their commitment to community health and healing. Owning this space means stability, strength, and the opportunity to better serve patients in the Western Montana community in a way that reflects the values and mission of All Nations. For more information on everything All Nations has to offer, follow All Nations on social media or visit allnations.health.
You've been dreaming about a sandwich from Tagliari Deli all day. Why continue to torture yourself by waiting even longer? If you order online or call ahead, Tagliari Delicatessen will have the best sandwich in the Treasure State ready for you upon arrival. To place an order, visit TagliariDelicatessen.com or give Tagliari a call at 406-830-3049. Tagliari has been named Montana's best deli by the Food Network and best sandwich by People magazine. Why wait? Order Tagliari Deli ahead of time today.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
She calls me from the cold, just when I was low, feeling short of stable. All that she intends, and all she keeps inside is in on the label. She says she's ashamed. Can she take me for a while?
Welcome back, 102.9 ESPN Radio. We're up against it, but we got to get the most important thing in. It's a Tuesday. It's the Tag Tuesday. Tagliari Deli giving you an opportunity to win free tag every Tuesday here on Nuanez Now. You have a $25 gift card to Tag Deli. Call right now, 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Tag Tuesday every Tuesday here on Nuanez Now. Quickly, Carly Allen, a Kalispell Glacier product. She is going to play college flag football. She is the first woman to ever do so. First young lady to get a college flag football scholarship. There's only been flag football in the state of Montana here for, I think, 3 or 4 years. Glacier's been the dominant team. 4 state titles in a row for Glacier. They were sort of the first ones to do it and the best ones to do it. And Allen, who scored all 3 of her team's touchdowns in their most recent state championship win, she's going to Milligan University in Tennessee to continue her flag football career. So good for Carly Allen. She said to 406 MT Sports, I think it's really cool to have younger girls look up to me for taking a step that not other girls have done in the past. So congratulations to her. One of the books out coming at you, our ESPN Roundtable. What are the 10 reasons why Montana State is in the national championship for the third time in 5 seasons. We'll also hear from Adam Jones, a Missoula Sentinel product. We'll also hear from Brooks Nuanez talking all things Grizz after a couple big announcements. One guy's staying, one guy's going. We'll break down the portal movement for the Montana Grizz as well. That's all coming your way in hour number 2. Don't change it down. Keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
It's cold outside, but the deals are hot at Bob Ward's. Gear up with 20% off skis, boots, and bindings. $20 Spyder Pro sleds and Dragon goggles for $19.99. Don't miss season ski and snowboard rentals done fast. In and out, no stress. Beat the cold with $19.99 Reebok jackets, $10 wool blend base layers, and 20% off winter jackets and boots. Plus, store-wide savings on hunting gear, golfing equipment, camping essentials, and so much more. Shop deals and discounts in every department. Only at Bob Ward's. Sports and outdoors, Montana style.
Hey, it's Dr. Tim McHugh, team doctor for the University of Montana. When your provider orders a CT or MRI, you have a choice of where to go. Choose Montana Imaging Center for faster appointments, lower costs, and the most advanced technology in the state. With insurance deductibles resetting in January, now's the perfect time to get your scans done and save money in the long run. From sports injuries to orthopedic care, our radiologists are trusted by Montana's top athletes. Choose Montana Imaging Center for your MRI or CT scan. Visit montanaimaging.com and make your appointment today.
Are you a sports fan who loves to win? Get in on the action with Sportsbet Montana. Bet on collegiate and professional baseball, football, hockey, basketball, and more, all while keeping the money right here in Montana. It's easy and secure on our kiosks and mobile app. Head to your favorite Sportsbet Montana retail location to catch the game, place your bets, and celebrate your wins. Sportsbet Montana. Learn more at sportsbetmontana.com.
Fundraising is not always a popular word. Then you throw in some parents who don't really know how to do it, and it can become stressful. Vertical Raise can implement hands-on with any high school sports team to help maximize your fundraising efforts. Peter Hamill is an expert in making the process easy and ensuring your team gets the biggest check possible, so your season can go smoothly. Vertical Raise can help provide opportunities for family and friends of your kids to support them from afar. Not everyone can come watch a game, but plenty can contribute to a great cause. To find out how Vertical Raise can help your organization raise money, visit verticalraise.com.
'Tis the season to gather around the holiday table at the Montana Club. Enjoy festive dishes like puff pastry filet, pork tenderloin with bacon jam, and baked halibut beurre blanc. For the perfect holiday finish, the club's peppermint mocha mousse. Specials available through January 4th. Explore the full menu at montanaclub.com. No reservations needed, with the warmest of holiday wishes from everyone at your Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Blackfoot Communications has been helping Montanans make strong connections for more than 70 years. With its headquarters in Missoula, Blackfoot has been providing steady, high-quality jobs to Western Montanans for decades. As your caring neighbor, Blackfoot shows their support by giving back to local organizations, causes, and schools in ways that truly matter. Blackfoot's mission is to connect people, businesses, and communities. Connect to more with Blackfoot Communications. To find out more about how Blackfoot can improve your connection to our community, visit blackfoot.com.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
For the fourth time in 5 years and the third year in a row, the state of Montana has a representative in the FCS national title game. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. And for the third time in those 5 years, that representative is the Montana State Bobcats. MSU carries a 13-game winning streak that includes 2 wins in 28 days over the University of Montana into this year's title game. The Bobcats also played for the national title in 21 and 24, losing both contests to North Dakota State. On Monday, January 5th, the Bobcats take on a red-hot Illinois State that is the first in the history of the FCS to win 4 straight road contests to qualify for the title game. The Redbirds are led by 16th-year head coach Brock Spack, who has 123 wins during his decorated tenure at ISU. The Redbirds went to Fargo and knocked off #1 North Dakota State in the second round, ensuring the Bison did not qualify for at least the quarterfinals for the first time in NDSU's storied playoff history. Montana State won 3 playoff games for the third time under 5th-year head coach Brent Vigen. MSU eked by Yale 21-13 in the second round before pounding Stephen F. Austin 44-28 in the quarterfinals and pulling away from Montana in the fourth quarter 2 weeks ago for a 48-23 win in Bozeman. The game is being played for the first time ever in Nashville. Montana State has not won a national title since 1984.
Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
She only sleeps when it's raining, and she screams, and her voice is strange. She says, baby, it's 3 a.m., I must be lonely. She says, baby, well, I can't help but be scared of it all sometimes, and the rain's gonna wash away, I believe it.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, the only bears that should be in your garbage. If you want to see the difference that locally owned and operated waste management can make for you, call them anytime, 406-541-7171. That's 406-541-7171. If you missed anything in the show, you can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast. We heard from Sam Herder, Hero Sports, talking all things FCS championship game and also a little Grizz football as well. We also talked about the in-state basketball teams at the Division I level, Montana State, men and women. The men open at home on Thursday. The Grizz play at 4 p.m. The Bobcats play at 7 p.m. on New Year's Day. Grizz play Northern Arizona, Cats play Northern Colorado. And then the women are at those schools, respectively. But we also gave you a piece of news about Carly Allen. She's a Kalispell Glacier senior, and she is the first women's flag football player to go to college for that sport. She's going to Milligan College, which is in Tennessee, and it's just cool. Flag football's only been around for a little while, so there can only be one first, right? She'll be the first forever. So if you missed any of that, you can find it on the podcast. During our Road to Nashville podcast, probably presented by the Advocates. If you've been in an accident that wasn't your fault, you need to call the Advocates, 406-640-4444, or visit MontanaAdvocates.com. The Advocates reminding you that you deserve an advocate. Let's jump into an ESPN Roundtable. ESPN Roundtable, usually our long-form interview of the week. Actually, do have an interview coming up. Adam Jones, Missoula Sentinel, will play that for you here in about 15 minutes. He is a Montana State sophomore captain and one of the best running backs in the United States of America. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons for Jones at Montana State. His career's off to a great start, so we'll hear from him in about 15 minutes. But I want to talk a little bit more about the way Montana State has gotten to this point. And I know there's a lot of people out there that listen on our Western Montana airwaves, and you're thinking, well, why do I want to hear about the Bobcats, more about the Bobcats? It's, Grizz already lost the Bobcats twice in a month. Why we got to keep on talking about it? But I do think a lot of the things that you can point to that has helped Montana State reach this level are, one, things that they've been able to either level the playing field on or surpass the Grizzlies on in terms of just program equity. I also think Montana, it's well known. What Bobby Hauck said in the postgame press conference following the Super Bowl, when he said that University of Montana set the bar in the Big Sky Conference for a long time, and Montana State and everybody else was chasing the Grizz. And then because of investment, because of just fight and competitiveness, then Montana State was able to start making gains. And then all of a sudden, it's getting pretty equal. And then all of a sudden, Montana State's got an edge. And all of a sudden now, it's interesting because the Grizz are way better than they were a year ago. They have been very good 2 of the last 3 years. They have some of the best talent in the country. Yet because they lost twice in 28 days to their rival, it seems like they're farther away than probably they really are. I mean, most teams in the United States of America actually think all teams, pretty much every team, would die to have Kaylee Ayat. On the other side of things, Bobcat fans are probably saying, well, we like Justin Lamson better than Kaylee Ayat. Well, I think 2 of the best quarterbacks in the country are in the Treasure State right now. But most teams in America would love to have Kaylee Ayat. And I'm including a lot of FBS teams that would, too. Good news for the Grizz. Ayat announced that he's staying. We'll talk about that a little bit more here. But I do think that it's worth compartmentalizing and absorbing if you are either a Montana State or a Montana fan about what has transpired since not just Brett Vegan took over, but basically since Rob Ash was shown the door. Following the 2015 Cat Grizz game in Bozeman, when Montana ran roughshod over Montana State, That capped a year in which it was very clear that Montana State had lost its footing and its momentum as a football program. They finished 5-6. They missed the playoffs. They got blown out on their home field by the Grizz, who, by the way, were led by a first-year head coach in Bob Stitt. And even though Rob Ash had been to the playoffs 4 of the previous 5 seasons, and even though he had won 3 Big Sky titles, and even though he was the winningest coach in Montana State history, they just started to part ways. They sort of saw Peter Fields, who was the athletic director at the time, and Wada Cruzado, the longtime president of Montana State. She sort of saw the writing on the wall that they had lost the trajectory of their program. They had sort of peaked in 2011 and then held that form mostly in 2012 and then took a dip in 2013. A lot of that was influenced by injuries. Denarius McGee, Cody Kirk, and Tanner Bleskin, 3 of their best offensive players, all got hurt. But they still missed the playoffs that year in those guys' senior years, which was in itself not a great scenario. They also they bounced back sort of and made the playoffs the following year. You could just see the defense eroding. They went from one of the great defenses in the conference and even in the country, multiple back-to-back Buck Buchanan Award winners, going to the top defensive player in the country for Caleb Schreibeis in 2012 and Brad Daly in 2013. And then by 2014, the defense was a mess. And then by 2015, the defense couldn't stop anybody. I mean, of all the years and teams and seasons and all that I've covered, the 2015 Cats had the most porous defense of anybody I'd seen. So that's all to say then that pointed towards maybe a change in leadership, and that's what Montana State did. Enter Jeff Choate, and he sort of had to, well, not even had to, he almost deliberately bottomed the program out and also sort of had to spark this rebuild. So they missed the playoffs 2 more times. So it's a 3-year streak and basically 4 out of the last 5 that the Cats had missed the playoffs. But then Choate starts to build, and he gets Troy Anderson, and that helps spark a playoff berth. And then the following year, all the talent starts to emerge. A lot of the talent Choate brought in as Pac-12 transfers, specifically from the University of Washington, that starts to pay dividends. Some of the big-time recruits that he got, like Isaiah Fonse, the Washington Gatorade Player of the Year, those start to pay dividends. The development starts to pay dividends. Guys like Ty Okada, who joined the team as an out-of-state walk-on, he turns into an all-conference player. And it all then results in Montana State making a run to the semis in 2019, which sort of and having a blowout win over the Grizz in 2019 as well, and that sort of gave them that edge. And then, of course, you have the pandemic, you got the canceled season, you got Choate bailing, but then enter Brent Vigen, and so over the last 5 seasons, Vigen's took it to another level. Montana State had won 9 Division I playoff games in the history of their program, dating back to 1982 when they made the playoffs for the very first time at Division I AA. They made the D2 playoffs several times, but then 1AA was created in 1978, and dating back to 1978, the Cats had 9 total playoff wins. Since Brent Vigen took over, they have 11. They've won 3 in a playoff 3 times to get to the national championship game 3 times in the last 5 years. That's worth acknowledging. That's a big enough sample size to say that the Cats are pretty much inarguably the cream of the crop in the Big Sky Conference. I mean, Brent Vigen is 37-3 in Big Sky Conference games in 5 years. So what does that mean? How did they get here? And more impressively to me, we talked about this on yesterday's show, but how did you lose one of the most decorated classes in school history in 2021, turn around and go undefeated in the league and win the conference to go to the semifinals the following year? Then how do you have that group of guys, led by Tommy Millott and Brody Grebe and Marcus Ware, how does that group of guys go undefeated all the way to the national championship game a year ago, fall short against North Dakota State, but still go 15-1, then you graduate all those guys, and you're back here. You're back going back to Nashville. It's been very impressive. And I think that there's a whole ton of factors to point to. Some of them intentional, some of them the accomplishments of this team, some of them just good fortune that have gotten to this point. So this is just sort of off the top of my head in no particular order. But I do think the transition of leadership to go from sort of stoic type leaders like Millott and Grebe and Ware to more of irreverent and brash type of leaders like Paul Brott and Kenneth Iden, and Caden Dollar's kind of like the guys from before, actually. He's kind of like a servant leader, a positive guy. He's a captain, obviously. Adam Jones is kind of like that, too. But then they have guys like Titan Fleischman. I mean, he leads with an edge. He's a hardcore dude. He's a badass offensive lineman. To be able to go from one style of leadership from the players to a different style of leadership, that's been the biggest key for this team. It hasn't mattered who they lost. They sort of had to put that in a rear view. They graduated all these guys. They also lost a ton of guys with the portal, including All-American offensive lineman Connor Moore, All-American running back Scott Trey Humphrey, All-American tight end Rohan Jones. All those guys went, to bigger FBS programs. And none of it's mattered. They sit here on a 13-game winning streak as a double-digit favorite to win in Nashville. And if they do, they'll have a national championship for the first time in 41 years. So it's been an interesting and impressive build. And it's certainly taken the last, not just 10 years, 25 years, you could argue. But certainly going from those leaders and captains last year to this group this year has been pivotal for Montana State. The other thing that's really helped them get to this point is health. Caden Dollar went down in the Super Brawl. His status remains uncertain. Brent Deegan said he's day-to-day. He has been practicing, but not full. He's just been going through it lightly. He is the Big Sky Conference Defensive Player of the Year and a junior captain out of Billings. So that's certainly a ding. J.J. Dolan, who's a nickelback / safety out of Sentinel, who had worked his way into a starting spot, he broke his leg against Montana in the first rivalry game, so he's definitely out for sure. Xavier Aarons appeared to hurt his knee against Yale or something in his leg, but Vegan said he's practicing, and they're hopeful that he might be able to play, so they got him back. They've had some other injuries throughout the year. Burke Mastel, starting offensive guard, was out early. Taki Ulakepa and Neil Daly, who are a safety and linebacker respectively, they got hurt against Oregon. But even the guys that have gotten banged, other guys have just stepped up. I mean, the emergence of Dolan was spurred on by Ulakepa getting hurt. The emergence of Cole Taylor, who was a second-team all-conference player, that was spurred on by Neil Daly getting hurt. And up front, they've had an unbelievable amount of good luck, good fortune injury-wise. Mastel came back, and that's helped solidify their offensive line. In the meantime, JT Reed was able to take over pretty seamlessly at center, and Mastel was able to then, he broke his hand, so he was going to have a hard time snapping. Well, he was able to slide in just at guard. The fact that they were able to throw Braden Zimmer, redshirt freshman, to the Wolves at left tackle, and that Cedric Jefferson seamlessly switched to right tackle, all those things really helped us buoy Montana State early, and then once they sort of solidified the unit and started building chemistry together, they've been really good the last, particularly probably 8 to 10 weeks of the season. Justin Lamson's also a huge factor. Kid from Stanford who transfers in. Yeah, that could be if the personality fit isn't a good one, that can be a pretty tenuous situation. Trying to take over for a legend, a program legend in Tommy Mellott. But I think that they did a good job evaluating Lamson's personality first and foremost, but he's also a dang good player. I mean, he was sort of the power run quarterback in Troy Taylor's 2-quarterback system at Stanford. I think that's actually a miscast. He can run, but he's a good thrower. I mean, he's a guy that if he was playing in the Mountain West, it would not surprise you. Like he's got good accuracy, he's got good arm talent, but his ability to fit in and then also lead, that's been the thing that's really helped Montana State. I think that's once he got settled in and the offense started clicking, Montana State's been pretty hard to slow down offensively, and so much of it's because of the dual threat nature and also the efficiency that Lamson operated with. We mentioned Caden Dollar. We also have to say Taco Dollar. The fact that the Dollar twins play at Montana State, that's a huge recruiting win for the Grizz for the Cats against the Grizz in state. I don't know how hard the Grizzlies recruited Caden Dollar. I know they recruited Taco pretty hard. But to get both those guys and then have them become the players they've become, that can't be understated. I mentioned the lines. Obviously, the offensive line reshuffle has been huge for Montana State, but the fact that they've had 4 defensive linemen that are seniors that have all stayed healthy and all been able to lead the defense as a whole, that's been, I think, the secret sauce to their defensive performance. The line has freed up the linebackers to make plays, and that's helped guys like Cole Taylor emerge. Also, though, the fact that all 4 guys up front are so veteran, that's helped Montana State it's helped them ease the acclimation of the young guys they have on the outside. They're playing pretty much nothing but freshmen and sophomores at corner and nickel. The fact that those guys get to play behind a veteran D-line that also takes off so much pressure, not just schematically and functionally, but also leadership-wise, just the production on the defensive side of the ball, it's all meshed together. Like, I don't know if this is the most taxing. I know it's not the most purely talented Cat defense of the last 5 or 6 years. 2019 was a ridiculously talented defense. 2021 was a ridiculously talented defense. And they were pretty dang good last year as well. This defense, though, has great depth, great continuity. I think Sean Howe has been great in his first year as the defensive coordinator. And all those things have helped Montana State just have this very productive and almost stonewalling attack defensively. I mentioned Cole Taylor, but his emergence has been huge. Neil Daly was expected to be a team leader and one of the best players on the defense. When he goes out against Oregon, you could think you're up a creek. Not so fast. Neil Daly Cole Taylor comes in, and I thought he was an instant impact. Well, we had him on the show the next week because I thought he was so impressive against Oregon. Ran downhill, showed great physicality, certainly impressive. And then the last factor is, of course, Brent Vigen. The fact that he's been able to be so steady and so good for just the duration of his time at Montana State. I mean, he's 60-12 going into this national championship game. He's checked all the boxes. The only two left he's got to check are beating North Dakota State, and that will have to wait for another year. NDSU eliminated the Bobcats in the playoffs in 2018, 2019. Beat them in the national championship in 2021. Beat them in the second round of the playoffs in 23, and beat them in the national championship last year. So 3 times for Vigen they've ended his season, and 5 out of the last 6 they've ended Montana State's season just in general. So that remains. It'll have to wait till next year or some other time in the future. But the other check that Brent Vigen still has to check off on his resume is national championship, and he has an opportunity to do that on Monday against Illinois State. We caught up with Adam Jones, a Montana State captain, on the dynamic of going to Nashville. It is our ESPN Roundtable. It's probably presented by Stockman Bank of Montana. Stockman Bank in Montana, only in Montana, and they plan on keeping it that way. Let Stockman Bank show you Montana's brand of banking. Well, first of all, just tell me about how it feels to be into game week for the national championship week.
It feels good. The break was nice, but I think after you get a couple days off, you get a little unsettled knowing that we had this game ahead, so I was excited to get back.
It's like the 3rd bye week for you guys, but it's during a Christmas holiday, and you're coming off this huge win over the Grizz, so how do you sort of keep your mind right and stay focused during that week off?
Yeah, I think, we have a process that's been working for us with these bye weeks, and I think we've done a good job at taking advantage of these extra days. I mean, we started on Friday preparing, so I feel like we're trying to get all the work done on the front end, so then, when we get down there, we can kind of just lock it in on the final details.
Well, you've talked a lot about the rivalry, but I don't know if anybody's heard from you since the last one. So take me through just your thoughts, your feelings, especially the way you guys were able to pull away at the end in that game against the Grizzlies.
Yeah, that was such a fun game. How we approached it, we didn't make that game as big as it really was. Looking back, that was the best thing we could have done. I think we treated it like the biggest game because it was the next. And when it finally got over and we pulled away at the end, I kind of took a couple of plays to take it in. And that was the coolest environment I've ever been in. Something that I'll never forget.
Taco Dell is such a cool customer, and he was saying that while it was all going crazy in the 4th quarter, that he didn't really notice until the end because he was so locked in. Did you notice though, especially because Coach Gregorek and I were talking about this, that last the 5 minutes when it went from a close game to you guys pull it away is one of the most surreal games I've ever watched. Yeah. Did it seem like that while you were playing in it?
I think on Taco's big play, that I've never heard the stadium crack that loud, and that's I wasn't even supposed to be near that play, and I heard the loud crack of the fans, and I just sprinted to the end zone. So I think in that moment, and then when they started playing the music, it really hit me. So.
Adam Jones here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Wherever you're watching on the Skyline Sports YouTube channel, Montana State captain, running back. one of the best photos of the game was when Rocky Lencioni made that diving catch, and we got one of you like, oh my gosh, both your hands on your head. So, what'd you think of that play?
Shoot.
Okay, Eric, can edit this part out. Flying airball.
Yeah, that was a pretty special play. I think it was a great call by Coach Cervic to run that play fake, and then they thought we were running the ball. And when that ball went in the air to Rocky, we don't throw that ball a lot in practice. And when I saw him catch it and lay out, I was like, that was pretty special. And then I probably milked the celebration a little bit too.
What's allowed him to be such a huge contributor as a freshman?
I think how hard he's worked and his maturity and the way he approaches, the business side and the professional side of football. I think he takes his craft really seriously. And he's only 19 years old, which is crazy. He should be a grade behind, but just to see how far he's come, I mean, he's 240 pounds and he looks really, really good at that weight. So I think credit to him, and then credit to our coaches for, using him and utilizing him.
One thing I was talking about with JT Reed earlier today is just that the offensive line sort of restructuring, first of all, in the offseason with the guys that left and graduated, but then also with the injuries, the way you guys had to redo it at the beginning of the year. It was a story, and now it's not a story because they've just done so well. What do you think that's a testament to, the way that they've been able to just sort of reorganize and maintain their dominance as a unit?
I think a lot of credit goes to the Coach Smith and just the whole offensive coaching staff. I think they've done a great job of developing young guys. I mean, you can see that in Montana State right now. There's young dudes that are shining every year. And then I think the culture. I say it every day. We run the ball at Montana State, and I think as an old lineman, you take a lot of pride in that. So you're going to do whatever it takes. We've worked so hard to get in this position. We take a lot of pride around the ball.
Yeah, I'm going to write a little bit something about the tight ends too, because I think, you lose Rohan Jones, you lose some of those guys, and they haven't missed a beat either. So, Lencioni's obviously been the breakout guy, but the rest of those guys have played well too. What have you thought of their contributions to the offense?
The tight ends are warriors. They're a glorified old lineman at times in our program, and I think, my celebration with Rocky's catch, anytime I see a tight end get some praise, I love it because, they're in the trenches all game blocking for me and Julius and Colson and all of us. So they deserve a lot of credit too.
Adam Jones here, Montana State sophomore captain as Montana State gets ready for Illinois State, the national championship game. Any early thoughts on the Redbirds? What have you seen out of their defense?
Solid defense. They run their scheme really well. You can tell they're really well coached. They don't have, a ton of flavor from guy to guy, that they play into their scheme, which I think is cool, and you can expect that from Missouri Valley, and they've done a really good job playing some teams that are really, really good, and they beat them, and they played them close when they haven't won, so they're a disciplined defense, and I think we got to take them very seriously.
You've seen some Missouri Valley teams in the recent past. Do they look like similar to the Dakota States, for example?
Yeah, they do. I think what you can expect in Missouri Valley is just discipline, that they're going to do what their scheme allows them to do, and it puts them in really good positions. So I think, trusting our coaches, and I think we have a good game plan going in, but you do have to look very closely at what you can do against these teams because they run their scheme really well.
Writing something about Julius Davis this week, too. I know you've talked a lot about your guys' relationship, but now here you are, you get a chance to play with him one last time. So how do you hope to sort of send him off?
With roses. I think there's only one way for him to go out. I'm so thankful that I've gotten to play with him for the past 3 years, and the way he's bought into me and how I bought into him, I think is a pretty special bond we have. So looking to send him off the best way possible.
You guys have sort of opposite personalities. Do you think that's what makes it work?
Yeah, I think so. He's a dude that I can count on to fire me up on game days, and then I'm there to calm him down when I can, which isn't always an easy task, but I think we make it work.
He gets so, how do you say? He gets up big time for games. What do you think it'd be like to go against him?
I would hate it. Yeah, I think hearing, what he says to the other teams and how he gets in their heads, I would hate to play against him, and I'm glad he's on my side. I take a lot of joy in how he, is on game day, and if you don't enjoy that part of it, you don't really understand him. It comes from a really good place, and his story, if everyone knew his story, you love everything about that dude. So
yeah, he's been a fun guy to get to know. The last thing for you, just the fact that you have a limited number of seniors, but some great ones that have been great leaders and played a lot of football for you. I mean, how do you hope to send those guys off, and how much motivation is that for you guys as underclassmen to sort of make this story end the way you hope it does?
Yeah, I think always getting your last game with the senior class is a weird thing, because, you know, on one hand, it doesn't seem like they're going to leave, but, you know, after this game, they're done. So we're looking to send them off exactly like I said with Julius, with roses, and just thanking them, and so thankful for what they've done for this program and the dudes before them, guys like Paul and Kenny and Hunter and all those dudes. They've worked their tail off to get in the spot they've been in, so, you know, looking to do whatever it takes for those dudes.
Real last thing for you, what was it like wearing your blue and gold over Christmas in Missoula?
It was at an all-time high, so I'm thankful for that.
Easier when you win, right? Adam Jones here on Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, as well as the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series. Thanks for doing it, man.
Yeah, thank you.
ESPN Roundtable, probably presented by Stockman Bank of Montana. Sorry, I forgot to edit it. So my hand recorder, I'm just full transparency here. When I screw up, I just let you know so you don't think it's weird. So I have this hand recorder, and it's really high quality, and the sound is awesome, but it has this like fuzzy mic cover over it so that it's almost like an ambient noise / wind protector. Well, I went like this to put it in Adam Jones's face, and the cover fell off. So in the moment when I was like, hold on, let me pick that up. That's, if you're listening on the radio, you didn't see it. That's what it is. And if you're watching on TV, you're like, well, what the heck was that 2-second pause? I was busy coming back from Bozeman today. Then I had to record about an hour and 10 minutes with Sam Herder. So we're kind of up against it. I messed up. We're all humans. We all make mistakes. So there you go. We'll get it edited out for the podcast version. ESPN Roundtable, probably presented by Stockman Bank of Montana. Let Stockman Bank show you the Stockman difference. They always have a live person to talk to. I had a banking question today, and I call them, and boom, I get to a live person. That person transfers me straight to the banker that I know personally that I want to talk to. Boom. You get your answers, get your problem solved. It's so much less infuriating than going through the automated push the button, yada, yada, yada. What's your issue? They can't understand what you're saying. It's awful. Stockman Bank in Montana, only in Montana. You're going to deal with real Montanans anytime you bank there. Let Stockman Bank show you Montana's brand of banking. For Bobcats to Grizz, we'll talk about the Grizz season. Brooks Nuanez will join us, and we'll also give you some of the news. Who's staying, who's going thus far for the University of Montana. That's next. Keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Palmer's Drug has been serving you since 1954, and the trusted locally owned compounding pharmacy has one goal in mind: to make things as easy as possible for you. Palmer's now has the easiest possible way for you to order healthcare's best supplements. If you visit palmersdrug.com, you can sign up to have Palmer's Drug deliver the best products when it comes to skincare, vitamins and minerals, fitness essentials, and more right to your front door. Visit palmersdrug.com today. When you think local pharmacy with Palmer's Drug on Southwest Higgins in Missoula.
If your college kid has wisdom teeth pain, let Big Sky Smiles and Sedation take care of it over their holiday break with gentle, effective sedation dentistry. Big Sky Smiles and Sedation won't overcharge, but they will remove those wisdom teeth for under $3,000, including sedation. No hidden fees, no stress, just experienced care at a great price. Call Big Sky Smiles and Sedation today at 406-549-6222 or visit BigSkySmilesandSedation.com.
Big changes start with small steps, and the Diabetes Prevention Program helps you take them. This proven CDC program teaches healthy eating, stress management, and ways to stay active, all in a supportive group. Participants have reduced their risk of diabetes by 58% and 71% if they're over 65. Smoking and vaping can raise your risk too, but help is free at quitnowmontana.com or call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. To join the Diabetes Prevention Program at Missoula Public Health, call 406-880-5344 to register.
You know all that gunk that gets stuck on the bottom of your car? It's nice that the city of Missoula de-ices the roads for us, but that stuff can really hurt your paint job and erode the undercarriage of your rig. That's why it's important to keep your car clean all winter long at Dazzler's Car Wash. Get yourself an unlimited membership at Dazzler's Car Wash. For just $37 a month, you can get your car washed every single day. Treat your car like it deserves to be treated at Dazzler's Car Wash of Missoula, located at 2610 Radio Way in the Garden City.
Canby Tap House is well known around the Garden City for its peerless selection of draft beers. Breakfast at Canby is also worth a sterling reputation. From breakfast burritos to chicken fried steak to delicious daily specials, Canby Tap House has excellent breakfast for your weekend brunch appetite. Canby also has a full coffee bar offering bold and delicious espresso and other specialty coffee drinks. Canby Tap House is family friendly and conveniently located on Higgins, across from South Campus Stadium and Dorn Blazer Field. Come enjoy the best breakfast in town at Canby Tap House.
Hey, it's Colter Nuanez from your favorite daily sports talk show, Nuanez Now, and I want to buy you a meal on your birthday at Paradise Falls. If it's your birthday, head on over to Paradise Falls at 3621 Brook Street, and I will buy you a birthday entree. All you have to do is go into the family-friendly Missoula favorite, present your ID, and the entree is on me. Birthday meals courtesy of Nuanez Now at Paradise Falls, a family-friendly restaurant serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If it's your birthday, head over to Paradise Falls, Missoula's coolest hotspot.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
For the fourth time in 5 years and the third year in a row, the state of Montana has a representative in the FCS national title game. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. And for the third time in those 5 years, that representative is the Montana State Bobcats. MSU carries a 13-game winning streak that includes 2 wins in 28 days over the University of Montana into this year's title game. The Bobcats also played for the national title in 21 and 24, losing both contests to North Dakota State. On Monday, January 5th, the Bobcats take on a red-hot Illinois State that is the first in the history of the FCS to win 4 straight road contests to qualify for the title game. The Redbirds are led by 16th-year head coach Brock Spack, who has 123 wins during his decorated tenure at ISU. The Redbirds went to Fargo and knocked off #1 North Dakota State in the second round, ensuring the Bison did not qualify for at least the quarterfinals for the first time in NDSU's storied playoff history. Montana State won 3 playoff games for the third time under 5th-year head coach Brent Vigen. MSU eked by Yale 21-13 in the second round before pounding Stephen F. Austin 44-28 in the quarterfinals and pulling away from Montana in the fourth quarter 2 weeks ago for a 48-23 win in Bozeman. The game is being played for the first time ever in Nashville. Montana State has not won a national title since 1984.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
You give them the games to play, so say I want something else to get me through this. Send me some kind of life, baby, baby. I want something else. I'm not listening when you say goodbye.
Welcome back. 109 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, veteran-owned, locally owned, the only Bears. That should be in your garbage. We led with this, but it's worth restating. Kaylee Ayat had a little bit of a funny today. I'm sure there was plenty of people that were panicking, at least initially, when they saw the beginning part of Ayat's tweet. He said, first and foremost, I want to thank Montana. If you're not familiar with who Ayat is, by the way, he's Montana's first T-ball conference quarterback. He's only a sophomore. It sucks to say, but so often when you see tweets from these guys, or you're even thinking about them during the offseason, so often you're thinking in survival mode. Like, will this guy stay? Like, how do the Grizz hang on to their good players? Because it's just the way of college football right now. So Ayat comes on Twitter today. It was at about 10 o'clock in the morning, and he goes, first and foremost, I want to thank the Montana coaching staff, my teammates, and the fans. These last 3 years, I've created so many memories with so many special people. With that being said, I've decided to not enter my name into the portal. This is too fun. LOL. I'm back. Go Grizz. So I'm sure he had plenty of people hanging on the first 3 sentences and then rejoicing on the fourth sentence. The comments on the tweet are hilarious, like all the memes and stuff of people just wiping the sweat from their brow or whatever. Twitter's a toxic place. Twitter's also an amazing place. It makes me laugh basically every day. So that's one in the boat. No inside info on Eli Gilman. I could give you all my speculation. I just think he stays, but I really don't know. I don't say, oh, Colter, you were so wrong if Eli Gilman leaves. And I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, I was so right if he stays. I just don't know. Gilman is an excellent talent. He's already rushed for 3,500 yards and 49 touchdowns in his Grizz career. He's absolutely one of the greatest Grizz running backs ever. Not close. And he hasn't even played his senior year yet. The benefit of him staying more than just to the Grizz is that he would almost certainly go down as, if not the greatest, the most prolific and productive running back in the history of University of Montana football. That's a great title to have, especially when that group includes other guys like Johansi Humphrey and Lex Hilliard and Chase Reynolds and Justin Green. But also, if Gilman decided to move on, and he could get a lot of money. Gilman could play at most places, and I think he'd be the starter at a good amount of places. And here's what I would do if I was Gilman. Not that Eli Gilman wants my unsolicited advice, but if I was Gilman, I'd either stay at Montana and try to break all the records, because what your NFL prospects is going to come down to your pro day. So if you believe that you can run a 4.4 and have a great workout, why not also accompany that 4.4 with 4,000 yards rushing and 50-something touchdowns, 60-something touchdowns if he stayed and had a full year next year? Or if I was going to leave Montana, I would not transfer to another school. I would just go to the league. I am a little bit bearish on Eli Gilman as an NFL prospect, only because I just think it's going to be hard for him to have an entry point. I think he is an exceptionally great athlete, a really good running back. I'm unsure if he's ever played. I'm pretty sure the answer is no, but I'm unsure if he's ever played special teams before. Can he cover a kick? That's the thing, is Eli Gilman is more talented than Chase Reynolds, but Chase Reynolds is so tough, first of all. But Chase Reynolds also came from an 8-man school in high school at Class C Drummond, and he played every which way. And he played special teams at Montana when he was first trying to cut his teeth. So then he went to become a special teams stalwart in the NFL. Chase Reynolds hardly touched the ball, but he was a great kick teams guy. He was a guy that was making a living in the NFL simply because of his special teams acumen. Does Gilman have that? I don't know. But I just think that if you go to a bigger program, sure, you can get a bag of money. What if you don't play? What if you're buried on the depth chart? What if you get hurt? More tread on the tires than now what the NFL wants. Again, Gilman already has great production. If you're gonna use your production as one of your leading things on your resume, then you stay at Montana, because that's where you can have the most production. If you want your best chance to go to the going to a bigger school is not a automatic guarantee that you're going to have a better chance to go to the NFL. If you really do believe in yourself, and I'm sure, I know Gilman does. If you know what your numbers are, if you know you can run a sub 4.5, then just go to the league. Don't go try to go play at Minnesota or Washington or something like that, because there's so many different things that could derail your NFL opportunities. Whereas right now you got a resume that can at least give you a look. If you want that resume to be fortified by production, you stay at Montana. And if you believe it, the resume is already good enough in terms of production, just go run on the pro day. I don't know, though. Like I said, I have no inside info with Eli Gilman. I just selfishly hope he stays, because it's great covering great players. And he's also a great dude. He's fun to have on the show. The departure that we know for sure includes two from the Grizz. Diesel Wilkinson, who was a transfer from Idaho before this year. He was the leading tackler for the Grizz, but he was not an all-league player. And he's from Spokane. He's into the portal, so we'll see where he ends up. Montana's going to have some turnover at safety. TJ Roush and Micah Harper were both seniors, as was Tanner Huff. So big shoes to fill for guys like Cade Boyd, and then Cash Gokachia. Gokachia was a redshirt freshman this last year. He was a great player in high school. He needs to make the next step to fill in those safety ranks. The other one is Caleb Motlewski. He's a starting linebacker for the Grizz. I thought he was one of their best defensive players this year. He announced his portal on his fiance's TikTok. His fiance was actually the one that announced it. And I don't pity anybody, but man, I do feel bad for these coaches, man. I don't know what it would be like to be Bobby Houck or Tim Houck and have been coaching in college football for so long, and be in your 60s, and you probably don't even know what the heck TikTok is. I don't have TikTok. I don't go on TikTok. I'm a media person that's in my 30s. TikTok is weird to me. So then to know that one of your best players, I don't know if Lusky told the coaches that he was going in the portal or not, but just to have that scenario where, he announces, or that the announcement is made on TikTok, and then, the rest of the media gets on it and we all put it on Twitter and stuff like that. It's just crazy. Sign of the times. I feel bad for the guys that have been in the game for a long time and have had to accept that this is what it's become. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. It is our Grizz Star of the Week. It's probably presented by Dazzler's Car Wash of Missoula. Winter's here. Get yourself an unlimited car wash package at Dazzler's Car Wash. By the time you're getting your car washed for the second time in the month, basically that second one is going to be free. But for what it costs for the first one, by the time you pay for the membership, you're basically getting the second and on each month for free. So if you're going to get your car washed more than once a month, which you should, do it with an unlimited package at Dazzler's. Treat your car like it deserves to be treated at Dazzler's Car Wash of Missoula. Let's keep on talking Redux for the Grizz. We start with the Super Bowl loss and what went into it for Montana. Brooks Nuanez joins us here on Nuanez Now.
What do you think was the primary factors in the way that Montana State was able to avalanche Montana?
I mean, it's been the same all year, right? It's plain and simple. It's the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football. You win the line of scrimmage. The most simple fans this day and age understand what that means. Even if you don't understand the nuances of play calling or leverage or what a team is trying to do, you understand what the line of scrimmage means. And when two bodies meet and one goes this way, everyone understands that. It's simple. That's what the SEC thrives on. It's what, these conversations about the Big Ten versus the SEC. I mean, I think those kind of conversations break down to, well, who can dominate the line of scrimmage? When you talk about the Missouri Valley versus the Big Sky, you talk about who could dominate the line of scrimmage. That's where Montana State has found themselves in 3 national championships in 5 years, is because they've been able to own the line of scrimmage. And honestly, as impressed as I am with Montana State's ability to own the line of scrimmage, I'm almost as impressed with Montana's lack of ability to, in the sense of being able to hang in a game like this. Like they easily could have got killed in this game. I mean, they didn't have a lot of answers at times, and they manufactured answers through effort, through guys making plays. I mean, that third quarter is the biggest sequence of the game as far as remembering that Montana played. Is that they come out and blow up a play, knock Dowler down, then blow up the reverse play to Adam Jones. And you're talking about some immense physicality, which was just dudes making plays, which is what the defense, what the team is really is built around. So the fact that Montana was able to lack at the line of scrimmage, lack at the quote unquote point of attack, and still stay in that game is a huge credit to them.
Well, it's such a huge credit to the top-end talent, too, right? I mean, like, the offensive line is not great in the interior run game, yet Gilman still got rolling. And then Montana State readjusted and shut him back down. Like, in the second quarter, where he had a couple runs that were just ridiculous, including that touchdown run that really helped give Montana life going into halftime. And, same deal. Like, imagine how good a guy like Peyton Wing would be if he had a, Tonga Takai playing in front of him, or Caleb Kidder, or, like Ty Gregorek used to say, somebody with an ass 2 axe handles wide, like give that guy a guy like that in front of him. Holy cow. He would be even better than he already is. I mean, when you outrush a team, Montana State outrushed Montana by, I think, 75 yards in the first one, and they outrushed them by over 150 in the second one this year. And I think that's the tail of the tape. Like, you can talk about this and that. Like, if you're the Grizz, you can talk about the ball didn't bounce your way and he had unlucky breaks and stuff like that in the first game. That's fine. You still couldn't get off the field when Montana State had 7 minutes to go in the game and they salted away the game and kneeled it down in your own red zone. That's the game. Like, every other thing doesn't matter. You had a chance. You had him in 3rd and medium and 3rd and long 3 times and a 4th and 1, and he couldn't get off the field. That's the game. In Bozeman, like Brent Vegan says, if we win the turnover battle and we outrush you, especially if we outrush you by over 150, you're not going to beat us, period. You're not beating us, point blank. So that I agree with you. That's just the remaining tail of the tape, and I think that's probably where you're frustrated if you're the Grizz, because you can say, well, man, the Cats have all this talent, Justin Lamson, Taco Dowler, Adam Jones, Julius Davis. our guys are just as good. We got Kaylee Ayat and Eli Gilman and Brooks Davis and Evan Schaefer and, Michael Wortham and all these dudes. That's not where the disparity lies. The disparity lies up front. And I think that's the number one thing Montana has to address if they want to get over the top. We're going to spend most of the time talking about the Cats and the way that they've gotten now to this national championship game by beating the Grizz twice in the last 28 days. But one last thing on Montana, what's just your post-mortem for the Grizzlies? How do you compartmentalize this season? Because it's their second 13-win season in the last 3 years. It just feels distinctly different, though, because of the 2 losses and who they're to, which is just, it's so funny to actually analyze, because losing to a shit NAU team that went 5-7 on the road when you got embarrassed basically in Flagstaff, and then scoring 3 points in the national championship game, you'd think that would be considered not as good as going toe-to-toe with the team that's probably going to win the Natty, but yet it's way more detrimental from the narrative broadly, because the Grizz very well may be the second best team in the country, but they're also the second best team in their state. And I think that's a really hard thing for people to absorb and compartmentalize. How would you just put this Grizz season into perspective?
I mean, that's brutal the way you say it, and not by your tone, but just by the facts. The way I would describe this Grizz season is they are who we thought they were. You lack on the offensive line, the defensive line. The thing is, Coulter, is, and I say this all the time, and it still gets taken out of context, which is fine. Bring that on all day. These are, what I'm saying is my own personal facts, the things I actually see with my eyes and all my football experience. Is Montana probably has a top 10 or 15 offensive line in the country. They probably have a top 15 or 20 defensive line in the country.
Totally.
And guess what? That's not good enough.
Right.
That's what me and you and Andrew Schmidt and a lot of people on this podcast talk about all the time is that you can't be dogging on these guys. Who's better than the Grizz offensive line? Nobody, except the 4 or 5 best teams. And that's not good enough.
Right.
And it's for me, it's cut and dry that way, is that there is no excuse to not have the best offensive line and have the best defensive line in the country. And guess what, folks? You might have all that plus all the skill guys and still lose in the Natty, which were teams that I played on, teams that I saw with my own eyes with the best offensive line in the country and still lose. So I would make sure you check yourself on that idea of, well, we're good enough. At this level, it's not good enough until you're the best. And there is no other standard for Montana. So that's how I think about it. But defensively, lots of playmakers. This is my main thing on the Grizz, Coulter. And this is when you asked me to do this tonight, I was like, what is my main takeaway for them? Is that they have so many different timelines happening. They have a freshman receiver, a sophomore quarterback, a junior running back, a bunch of senior transfers on defense. There is no one that's doing it together with each other on the same timeline. And you don't have to recruit guys as freshmen and just make sure that they're all fifth-year seniors who had to grind through everything. Sure. But there is a lack of continuity in that. Kaylee Ayat's a first-time starter. Brooks Davis is a first-time starter. Evan Schaefer's a third-time transfer. Eli Gilman's all-time leading rusher. We got a medical kid at center. We got a 5 transfers at linebacker who are seniors. All of that lacks a little bit of cohesion. Coach Houck has he's become the transfer portal wizard, which is crazy that he is now the guy that's going to get 50 transfers a year and really roll the dice on the Casino Royale. But for him and his program through strength and conditioning, all those things, it's always been about earning it. And right now they're kind of having just to anoint some people and finding these broken gaps of timeline. And I think that's where Montana State has not only depth, but has cohesion within that depth. And that's the big difference right now.
Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Brooks Nuanez joining us here. An excerpt from a podcast recorded earlier this week. Thanks to all our great friends that are helping us head to Nashville, including Bob Ward's Sports and Outdoors. My nephew's cast in on new Spider sleds at Bob Ward's for this $19.99. These things rip. Sales all the time, all winter long, and it's just the beginning. The best brands, the best prices, no hassle shopping, only at Bob Ward's. Get you set up for the rest of the week. Off tomorrow, off Thursday, but back at it on Friday. We'll let you know a few more details on the other side. Don't change that down. Keep it right here. It's ESPN Radio.
It's cold outside, but the deals are hot at Bob Ward's. Gear up with 20% off skis, boots, and bindings. $20 Spyder Pro sleds and Dragon goggles for $19.99. Don't miss season ski and snowboard rentals done fast. In and out, no stress. Beat the cold with $19.99 Reebok jackets, $10 wool blend base layers, and 20% off winter jackets and boots. Plus, store-wide savings on hunting gear, golfing equipment, camping essentials, and so much more. Shop deals and discounts in every department. Only at Bob Ward's. Sports and outdoors, Montana style.
Billy Fisher here, owner of Grizzly Disposal, thanking you, Missoula. 2025 was a great year for Grizzly Disposal, and we couldn't have done it without this community. Grizzly Disposal's partnerships have raised thousands of dollars for Chicks and Chaps, Grizzly Scholarship Association, Frenchtown Schools, and Missoula Catholic Schools. We've also saved you hundreds of dollars per year in your trash removal service, while you've supported a locally owned, locally staffed business. We look forward to continuing to provide Missoula and the surrounding areas with the best service, no surprises on your bills, and no hidden fees. Visit grizzlydisposal.com to learn more about us.
When a child has someone who believes in them, the future opens up. At Friends of the Children Western Montana, every child is paired with a professional mentor for 12 plus years. The results are powerful. More graduates, stronger families, and brighter futures. Honored as the outstanding nonprofit organization by United Way's Missoula Nonprofit Center, Friends of the Children is changing lives every day. Join us and give today. Your gift is matched up to $20,000 this holiday season. Help more kids dream big by donating at friendswesternmt.org.
Do you have plans for midnight on New Year's Eve? Missoula on Main is hosting 2 midnight events this year. Come to the Midnight Ball with the Ed Norton Big Band at the Elks Club Lodge at 9, or a hip-hop show at the Zac at 11 with Renault and Chris Sand. Ring in the new year by celebrating with performances from local musicians. Tickets for both events and all-access passes are available at artsmissoula.org.
Red's Bar is a beloved institution in downtown Missoula. Whether you want to watch a game, enjoy a cold beer, spend time with friendly faces, or simply wind down, the welcoming atmosphere and wonderful staff at Red's will make you feel right at home. Red's features 14 HD TVs and 2 full-service bars. Stop by and grab a beer with friends while you watch your favorite team play and check out the extensive collection of awesome sports memorabilia. Red's Bar in downtown Missoula, the friendliest sports bar in town. Colter Nuanez from ESPN Montana here, and I can't tell you how much high-speed fiber internet from Blackfoot Communications has improved my life. It might sound simple, but having lightning-fast upload speeds lets me record video calls in 4K to use on our Nuanez Now radio and television show. It also allows us to produce content with world-class efficiency, and I can work from home even if my wife is streaming her HD TV. If you want to experience the fastest internet speeds possible, you need fiber internet from Blackfoot. Find out more about fiber in your area by visiting blackfoot.com.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
We're up against it. No show tomorrow, but we'll be back at it on Friday live from Nashville. Thanks to our great sponsors that are taking us on the road to Nashville, including the Advocates, reminding you that you deserve an advocate, Bob Ward's Sports and Outdoors, Blackfoot Communications, and Town and Country Foods. The Music City Bowl is right now about 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. Illinois up 24-14. We will roll directly into that, so keep it right here. It is bowl season, and all of our bowl coverage probably presented by Grizzly Disposal. The only Bears that should be in your garbage. Illinois up 24-14 against Tennessee. 2:42 left in the third. Music City Bowl right now. Don't change that down. Keep it right here. It's 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Attention Grizz hockey fans, single game tickets are now on sale at grizzhockey.com. Don't miss your chance to secure the best seats for every exciting home game. This year, we're taking the fan experience to the next level. From music and a live pregame show in the parking lot to a professional DJ and MC energizing the crowd inside the arena. Enjoy new intermission games in the best bar in Missoula, all while cheering on the most talented Grizz hockey team yet. Tickets are waiting. Head to grizzhockey.com today. Grizz Hockey, where the action begins.
Are you a sports fan who loves to win? Get in on the action with Sportsbet Montana. Bet on collegiate and professional baseball, football, hockey, basketball, and more, all while keeping the money right here in Montana. It's easy and secure on our kiosks and mobile app. Head to your favorite Sportsbet Montana retail location to catch the game, place your bets, and celebrate your wins. Sportsbet Montana. Learn more at sportsbetmontana.com.
Billy Fisher here, owner of Grizzly Disposal, thanking you, Missoula. 2025 was a great year for Grizzly Disposal, and we